Great win today. Not a great game, but a great win. For all intent and purposes, if not for the comeback, that was a horrible game by the offense. That was a situation where that was the first game this year where the offense just looked horrible, out of sync, and all of that kind of stuff. I know last week we dropped opportunities. We dropped the ball on that one. Drop passes, same thing. We gave that game away. This week, the Colts almost beat us. It wasn't anything we were doing. We made mistakes. They made mistakes. Although, I don't know what it is, why we're putting the ball on the ground so much. And from our receivers, not the running backs, Jalen Hurts gets the strip sack. Sometimes that's going to happen. Miles Sanders has to keep that block just a tad bit longer. We ended up scoring, I believe it was Quez Watkins later in the game. That same play was the play that they were trying to get for the deep ball. Quez Watkins was open. If Miles Sanders holds that block for another half a second, that's most likely a touchdown. He had his man beat going across the field. Wasn't nobody going to catch him. And I trusted that Jalen Hurts was going to put the ball in place. So little things like that, man, a game of inches, half a second more, and we make that play. But we come back from 10. We get the win. Since 1946 or something like that, had the Eagles come back from 10 plus down in the fourth quarter to win the game. So great win. Not so much about the game. Jalen Hurts showed why he's the best player on that field. 2 weeks in a row, it's not on him. He's putting the ball where he needs to be. And the receivers and the skill positions are coming up short. And at the end of this game, he keeps the ball in his hands. He makes the play you have to make to secure the win. Big-time players make big-time plays in big games. He is that guy. He is the QB1, and they need to remember that. Some of the play calling was a little bit suspect. We'll go over that later in the week, but it is what it is. You're not going to win every battle, but some of the choices, you just got to scratch your head. But good defensive game by Gannon. The defense played, I won't say lights out, but the defense played pretty damn good today. If we would have lost that game, it would not have been on our defense because our offense failed. The defense, they were flying around the field. Epps and Edwards played solid today. nDomukong, Suh and Linval Joseph showed up and showed out today. Both of them showed up, made an immediate impact in the run game. Once they got settled in and once the defense got settled in, they had that first drive, which was a great drive by Indianapolis. And then the Eagles defense settled in and they pretty much stuffed the run. They still got some pretty good yards as far as the game, but they held Taylor under 100 yards. I'm not sure what the total offense was. What was the rushing offense? I think they ended up with 99 yards total. So the defense held them under 99 yards. They held Jonathan Taylor had 84 yards, 22 carries for 84 yards. So good job by the defense, keeping them under a buck. And again, props to Suh and Linval Joseph. Them jokers showed up to play. You would never would have known that they had been sitting at home. Never would have known. Showed up, game shape, made tackles. Both of them got a half a sack on the same play. They made an immediate impact. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do going forward, especially when the big man in the middle, Jordan Davis, comes back. So definitely some positives to take out of that. Like I said, the play calling was still a little bit suspect, but we'll get into that at a later date. And the one nitpick I have on the offense, I mentioned some of the play calling, but when Jalen Hurts is under center, we run the ball better. Period. Now, I'm old school when it comes to that. I was a tailback, so I know what it means to be 7 yards deep and go downhill over the tackles. To me, if you go back and look at the all 22, when Jalen was under center, we ran the ball better. Run the ball behind Mailata, run the ball behind Lane Johnson, stretch the linebackers out. When you run the ball from ace, when you're deep, the linebackers have to flow. They have to step to whichever way you go. That sets up the blocks for the guards and the tackles to reach and get to the next level. That's why it's so much better. If you look at, again, if you watch what Tony Pollard did today to the Vikings, you line them up deep, quarterback stick that ball out, make the linebackers float. It sets up the blocks better, and it lets the running back be a running back. See the holes, make a cut if you have to. If the hole is there, you follow your lineman through and run off his butt. It's that simple. But it sets up the blocks, and we look better running the ball when Jalen is under center. A couple of times we run that RPO from gun, and what happens is you're trying to run in the center and guard gap, and that's where it's stuffed up. You got to get behind the tackle, and you can't do that from that RPO. You got to make the jump cuts to do that. You're not going downhill in that direction, so it slows up the play. It slows up the running back because you're stepping sideways rather than stepping forward. Again, getting that full head of steam going downhill, but I think I'm going to pull some tape, and we'll look at that later on in the week. But that's something that we can take advantage of. And also that the big pass interference call later in the game with Miles Sanders being guarded by a linebacker. I don't understand why we don't take advantage of that more often. I don't care if it's Sanders, Gainwell, or Boston Scott. Whenever we have a linebacker that has to cover our running backs, it is always a mismatch. Unless you're coming up against somebody like Micah Parsons or somebody with that type of speed at linebacker. And there's not too many of those. Today was a prime example. Miles was wide open, had his man beat by about 2 yards, and the guy had to tackle him, or he was going to give up the touchdown. We got to take advantage of those types of mismatch situations, and you can set that up based on your formation and putting guys in motion. Not that difficult to do. So we'll see what happens in the future, but like I said before, good win. Not necessarily a great game, but I'll take it. A win is a win. Props to Jeff Saturday. He had them boys ready to play. He followed the procedure. They ran the ball until they couldn't run it no more, until they were forced to pass. If not for our anemic offense today, we should have had that game out of hand, but we just, for whatever reason, receivers putting the ball on the ground, we had that stretch of plays where we had 3 penalties in a row, and again, just shot ourselves in the foot. So still a lot of room to clean up, a lot of things to clean up. We got some work to do because Dallas is for real. Giants took a L today, and Minnesota took a L today. We got some tough games coming up. We got to keep this run defense stout because we got some excellent running backs going forward. Everybody we play has an excellent running back. So we got to keep it tight. We got to be ready to go. We got to clean this stuff up on offense. We got to have offense and defense hitting on all cylinders at the same time. That's how you win. The further you get, and that's how you win getting into playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But celebrate this win, and let's get ready for next week. Go Birds.